Earlier this month, the US government pulled Anthropic's most powerful AI model off the market. No warning, no replacement, companies that bet everything on one AI scrambled. The thought creeping into everyone's minds, what if the AI I use gets banned? The ones who didn't, they never leaned on a single model in the first place. And literally, as I'm recording this, GPT 5.6 came out with limited release, being first only rolled out and needing to be approved by government agencies before being released to the public. Now, here's what that means for you. Diversity for your AIs, both for safety and for cost. The AI that used to need a Fortune 500 budget or government approvals now runs for about $15 a month. But the edge isn't which model you pick, it's that you stop picking just one. You'd never put your highest paid person on data entry all day, yet just use the best model for everything does exactly that. Companies pulling ahead are building an org chart for their AI. Cheap models for volume, smart ones for judgment, and a human to do the final call. You see, you want to route by job first. And by the way, avoid all the fancy automated routing logic. This way, it stops mattering which model gets banned, or, and this will happen soon, which model raises the price on you. And with that, I introduce you to today's video, the org chart for your AI. You see, the routing layer cuts the bill in half, at least, and puts the right size model on every job. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to build yours with the exact prompts in an afternoon. Hi, I'm Dustin, co-founder of Linux, and this channel is for owners who want to know what AI really means for your business. Not the hype, not the model gossip, but useful, practical tips that you can use today. And everything here comes down to one question. How do I get the most intelligence per dollar without losing control of cost, quality, or trust? Last week, I showed you how cheap and capable AI just got with GLM 5.2. The catch was that most companies' bills are climbing anyways because they never rerouted the work. This video fixes that. Now, here's the plan. First, we'll go over the one mistake that'll cost you twice, a bigger bill and worse work. 2, the org chart that fixes both of those problems. And finally, I'll build one with you right here, right now. And you can do it with me together. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They pick one model, usually the smartest, the most expensive one, and run everything through it. Pricing a deal? Genius model. Cleaning up a spreadsheet? Genius model. Summarizing a call? Same model. It feels simple, and it's actually the most expensive way to run AI. You never put your highest paid person on data entry all day. Using just the best model for everything does exactly that. So stop thinking about one model. Think about an org chart. You know, every business already has one for employees. Why not for AI teammates? At the top, you, the owner, and just under you, or really any team member, a model like Fable or 5.6. This is a strategist for the big quarterly or monthly direction for the business. Now, just under that, a planner that turns goals into steps and checks the work. Then, right under that, you have your workhorses doing the bulk, the drafting, the cleanup, the analysis. And at the very bottom, you have your interns for high volume and repetitive tasks. Right job, right worker. That's the whole idea. Now, I'm going to go through the models, and the names on this card change every few weeks. So today, things like strategy, vision, quarterly goals, business decisions, that all goes to the top frontier model like Fable, GPT 5.6 Soul. Planning goes to a regular frontier model. Then the execution on a GLM or DeepSeek or any good bang for the buck model. Then we have bulk or repetitive work on Minimax or DeepSeek Flash. 3 reasons this works, and the most important 2 are about your P&L. First is actually resilience. Remember, governments are now deciding what gets released and what doesn't. The ones running an org chart barely noticed. They swapped one worker and the system kept going. Second, cost. When you match the model to the task, you stop paying premium prices for grunt work. Per seat, it may sound small, but multiply it across an entire team, and it turns into a real cost savings. Third, fit. A better model isn't automatically better for the job. It's just more expensive. You wouldn't grab a sledgehammer to tap in a finishing nail. On everyday structured work that most businesses run on, the drafting, the cleanup, the sorting, and summarizing, good open source models now come within a hair of top models for a fraction of the price. Sure, not in the most advanced coding or brand new mathematical proofs, but on routine work that most businesses run on, it's no problem. Plus, there's actually more and more research coming out that teams of models actually outperform single models many times their size. Now, one setup before any of this works, and most people skip it, and that's building your company knowledge layer, your price list, your terminology, your rules, your customers, and your brand guidelines. The difference, if you run the same task twice, one without your context, the answer is generic and a little wrong. With the knowledge layer, the model uses your terms, your numbers, your way of doing things, and how you think, and it makes far fewer mistakes. That's the foundation everything else stands on. Every model you use should start like a new hire who actually read the handbook. By the way, that's going to be the next video, how to build the company knowledge layer from your SOPs, templates, examples, your process docs, and the knowledge that's usually just trapped in your head. For today, just know that real AI workflows only pays off once the model knows your business. Now, let's build a routine workflow together. Copy these prompts. They're going to be down in the description below, and you can adapt them to your own work. Let's take a workflow that every business owner probably has. Turning a pile of messy notes, meetings. By the way, make sure you're recording voice memos of your important meetings. Now, this whole loop, this whole process actually fits on just one line. H for a human, the human kicks it off. The A is for a advanced smart AI or agent that makes plans with you. Then cheaper bang for the buck AIs do the work. At the end, the smart model then checks them, and a human at the very end signs off. The loop is simple. Plan, execute, verify, approve. Now, let's break it down. Step 1, plan. Go to your smart model, the one you trust for judgment. Don't ask it to do the work yet. Ask it to plan the work. And take your time on this. It's a very important step. And here's the key. Tell it to write a plan like it's handing off the work to a junior engineer or team member. Say, include the context they need so they don't have to guess. By the way, once again, these prompts will be down below in the description, so feel free to copy and paste them. Step 2, execute. Hand the approved plan document to a cheaper workhorse model, and this is where the handoff matters. That cheap model should not be inventing the job. It should be executing on a clear plan with source docs, templates, rules, and constraints already included. Tell it to draft the output only and not to publish or override anything. Step 3, verify. Send the result back to the smarter model and tell it to be a critic. It should compare the work against the plan, the source material, the rules. You want basic errors like logic, factual drift, crowded slides, all flagged before you ever take a look at it. Obviously, if there's any errors, you can have the cheaper model make those changes. Step 4, the human. You. Review the deck, check the logic, cut anything confusing. Anywhere the story, the taste, or the client context matters, you decide. And that part doesn't get delegated. Step 5, and this is the most important one people always forget, save the workflow as a skill. Once it works, save it so that you're not rebuilding from scratch. Next deck runs the same way, and it learns from the feedback that you gave it and any preferences you had. In the future, you can go back and slowly improve this skill as you run the workflow over and over. Want to know how I know this works? I use it on this video, the one you're looking at. I didn't hand build it from scratch. I had a smart model that planned it, one slide per beat, what each title says, what visual each slide needs. Then the cheaper model drafted the slides. I approved the work. And in about 4 minutes of model time, a draft on what used to take me hours. And you're looking at the result right now. That's how quick next iterations can become once you have a workflow and a skill saved. And this same setup runs on whether you got a proposal, a contract, you're doing a research memo or a training deck. Basically, once again, the smart model plans, the cheap model drafts, the human improves, you save the pattern and you rerun the workflow over and over. If you have any improvements, tell it, hey, let's improve the workflow, the skill based on this new iteration, right? This works for a proposal, a contract, research memo, a training deck. So here's my real setup and my real costs. There's no pay-per-use metering. I mostly pay flat monthly plans. Claude, about $20, ChatGPT, $20, GLM, about $36. Let's call it $76 per month all in for one person stack. Whereas one premium frontier seat per person, call it 200. So seat for seat, a whole org chart of models costs under half of what one of the frontier models are using. And again, I'm using more tokens than a $200 plan would at Anthropic or OpenAI. And you can start lighter. There are GLM tiers out there for $10, $15 per month. And I also have Gemini and Grok around for an occasional second opinion or to do one-off tasks. But the core that does the heavy lifting is that $76 stack. Now let's scale that up, because on one seat, it sounds small. One seat, about $124. 5 seats over 600, 20 seats doing real volume work, by the way. These are people getting stuff done, $29,000 per year. Now, team and enterprise plans could move the exact numbers, but the ratio is the point. A routed stack can do more than one premium seat for less money. Okay, just real quick, 3 guardrails, because this is real life. This is your real business, not a demo. 1, humans approve anything, financial, legal, HR, customer facing. AI can draft them and prepare, but people sign off. Again, make sure they're humans sandwiching your workflows. 2, don't connect any sensitive systems just because the demo looks exciting. Make sure to prove it on safe material first. Number 3, if you're in the regulated space, healthcare, financials, etc., make sure to keep regulated records sent to a model with the right compliance frameworks. HIPAA, SOC 2, so your protected data never leaves your contained environment. The full compliance setup is its own video. By the way, if you need help setting this up, feel free to reach out. So that's the org chart for your AI. Cheap models for volume, smart models for judgment, and you make the final call. It's the most intelligence per dollar. It's the right size per job, a bill that's roughly half, if not less. And the part that really protects you is a business model that doesn't get caught when a model gets pulled. Because that just happened, it'll happen again, and honestly, prices are only going up. Right now, you can run this by hand. You can copy between tabs, and that works. The next step is wiring the handoffs together so it runs on its own. And that's what we're building at Linux, into a system that we call Magnolia OS, but more on that down the road. So just to recap, the model, it's cheap, but discipline is what decides who wins. For now, pick one workflow this week and route it. Plan with the smart one, execute with the cheap one, and approve it yourself. And if you're not sure which workflow to start with, I made a free workbook just for that. It's called Find Your First $50,000 AI Workflows. In about 15 minutes, you'll list the reoccurring work in your business, you'll score it, and it'll point you to the one workflow that's actually worth routing first. You can also grab it down below in the link in the description. Also, while you're there, drop a comment with one workflow you'd start with. And next time, I'll show you how to build a company knowledge layer that makes the whole thing work. The SOPs, the templates, the examples, the process docs, and the rules that stop the model from guessing. Once again, I'm Dustin Ogle. See you guys next week.